When you think of the Roloff family, what is the first image that pops into your head? Is it the sprawling, picturesque landscape of that iconic Oregon farm? Is it the sound of heavy machinery rumbling through the mud as another massive pumpkin is hoisted into the air? Or maybe for most of us, it is the warmth of a family sitting around a dinner table, navigating the unique challenges of life with dwarfism while trying to keep a centuries-old family legacy alive. For over 2 decades, we have watched the Roloffs grow up on our screens. We watched the twins, Zach and Jeremy, bicker and bond. We watched Molly excel in her studies, and we watched little Jacob, the baby of the family, turn into a thoughtful, introspective young man. We laughed with them, we cried with them, and we felt like we were part of their journey. The Roloff family became a staple of American reality television, not because they were flashy or controversial, but because they were real. They were a family with real struggles, real triumphs, and a real tangible connection to the land they loved. But as we all know, reality television has a funny way of blurring the lines between what is real and what is curated for the camera. And over the last few years, we have watched the seams of this tightly knit family begin to fray right before our very eyes. We saw the tension build over the farm, we saw the disagreements over the legacy, and we saw a family that once seemed unbreakable start to crack under the pressure of fame, ambition, and the almighty dollar. And now, just when we thought we had heard it all, just when we thought the dust had settled on the Roloff family drama, a new voice has stepped forward to pull back the curtain on the damage that has been done. And honestly, folks, this time it is a voice that we didn't see coming. But before we get into the explosive revelations that threaten to change the way we view the entire Roloff legacy, we have to understand the context. We have to look at the decisions that led us to this exact moment in time. You see, the drama surrounding Matt Roloff and the farm isn't new. It's been bubbling beneath the surface for years, long before the cameras ever showed the arguments over the property lines. The real story is about a patriarch's dream colliding with the harsh realities of a modern family. Matt Roloff, love him or hate him, is a visionary. He is a dreamer. He is the kind of man who looks at a piece of land and sees not just dirt and trees, but a theme park, a legacy, a kingdom. And for the longest time, his family shared that vision. They were his crew, his support system, his biggest cheerleaders. Amy was the anchor, holding the family together while Matt built the empire. The kids were the ambassadors, charming the world and convincing us that the American dream was alive and well in Oregon. But a kingdom, like a farm, requires constant maintenance, and it requires successors. It requires people who are willing to pick up the tools and carry on the work when the founding king begins to slow down. And this is where the story took a turn for the tragic. When Matt started looking towards his future, toward retirement, and started making decisions about who would carry his legacy forward, the cracks became canyons. He made a decision that changed everything. It was a decision that he marketed as a logical business move, a way to protect the farm from being torn apart by taxes or marital disputes. But to his children and to the world, it felt like a betrayal. Now I know what you are thinking. We already know this story. We know about the negotiations. We know about the offers. But let me stop you right there, because what we are about to discuss today is something that goes far beyond the land. It goes far beyond the negotiations. It goes to the very heart of the family structure, and it reveals the emotional and psychological damage that has been inflicted on those caught in the crossfire. And the person who is finally speaking up, the person who is risking her place in the family to tell the truth, is Isabel. Isabel Roloff, the wife of Jacob Roloff, has always been perceived as the quiet one, the supportive partner, the new addition to the family who kept to the background. But silence, my friends, can be just as loud as a scream. And Isabel has decided that the silence is over. After watching her husband, the man she loves, struggle with the weight of his father's decisions, She has decided that the world needs to know the truth. She has decided that the story we saw on television was only half of the story, a sanitized version of events designed to protect the brand of a man who was more concerned with his legacy than with the hearts of his children. And the picture she is painting is devastating. Let's rewind the clock for a moment. Think back to when we first heard that Matt had put the farm on the market. The internet erupted. Fans were up in arms, confused and angry. How could he sell the farm? Wasn't this his dream? Wasn't this supposed to be the Roloff legacy? The initial story we were fed was that Matt was looking for a buyer who would respect the farm and keep it in the spirit of the Roloff name. He made it sound like he was being a responsible steward of the land. He claimed that the offers from his children were not viable because they couldn't meet the financial demands. He claimed that he had to think about his own retirement. He had to think about his own future. And you know what? On the surface, that sounds reasonable. It sounds like a man trying to secure his bag. But if you look just a little deeper, if you read between the lines of the news headlines and the carefully staged Instagram posts, you would see something else entirely. You would see a man who was prioritizing his own ego over his family's unity. You would see a father who was willing to sell the family's birthright to the highest bidder rather than taking a chance on his own flesh and blood. And when Isabel saw this happening to Jacob, when she saw how this decision was tearing him apart, she knew she had to do something. Hey everyone, before we dive any deeper into this heartbreaking story, I want to take a quick second to thank you for being here. If you are finding value in this deep dive, if you are ready to understand what really happened behind the scenes, please do me a favor and hit that like button right now. It helps more people see this story and understand the truth. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on the bell notification. We are just getting started, and trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite memory of the Roloff family is. Was it the pumpkin seasons or the family vacations? Let me know, because I want to see what you were thinking before all of this went down. Okay, let's get back to it. So where do we start with the damage? Isabel has been very strategic in her revelations. She isn't just yelling into the void. She is laying out a case piece by piece. The first piece of damage, the most glaring one, is the destruction of trust. When Matt sat down with the kids and told them that they either had to buy the farm at his price or he was going to sell it to someone else, he effectively destroyed the trust that had been built over a lifetime. Jacob especially felt this blow. You have to understand, Jacob spent a lot of his childhood feeling like the odd one out. He was the youngest of the twins. He often felt like he was in the shadows of his older brothers. But when he grew up, he started to carve his own path. He and Isabel found each other, and they seemed to create a beautiful, grounded life. Jacob pulled away from the spotlight a bit, but he never pulled away from the family. He wanted the farm, not just for the land, but for the meaning. He wanted to raise his son on that land. He wanted to tell his son, this is where your great-grandfather worked. This is where your father grew up. But Matt's decision stole that from him, and Isabel says, let's be clear, it wasn't just about the money. Matt made it about the money because it was an easy excuse. It was a way for him to maintain control. He created a situation where his children had to come begging to him, hat in hand, and when they couldn't come up with the millions he was asking for, he could wash his hands of them and say, I tried. But there is another layer here, and this is the layer that is truly wild. Isabel has been pointing out a very specific contradiction in Matt's logic. Matt always said he wanted the farm to stay in the family. He said that was his number one priority, but his actions tell a completely different story. If his priority was keeping the land in the family, he would have worked with his children. He would have come up with a payment plan. He would have gifted them the land slowly to avoid tax penalties. He would have done anything to keep it in the family, because that is what a loving father does when he says he wants to pass down a legacy. But instead, he opened the farm up to outside investors and corporate entities. He was willing to sell the farm to anyone except the people who shared his DNA. This is where the narrative completely falls apart. It turns out that Matt's definition of legacy was not family. It was control. He wanted to keep the legacy under his thumb, and he didn't want to give up that power to his own children, because if he gave it up to them, they might do things differently. They might change the pumpkin sales. They might change the opening hours. They might change the Matt Roloff way of doing things. And Matt couldn't handle that. So he chose to let it go rather than let it go in a way that empowered his children. Isabel has brought us a perspective that is so human. She speaks not just as a wife, but as a mother. She looks at her son and she thinks, what sort of family legacy am I bringing him into? It is heartbreaking to watch. She is witnessing her husband, who is already a deeply sensitive person, grapple with realization that his father is willing to throw him aside for a profit. And this, my friends, is the crux of the matter. This is the damage that can't be fixed with a holiday dinner or a forced smile at a family gathering. This is the damage that stays with you forever. A father told his son that he was not good enough, not rich enough, not capable enough to take over what was supposed to be his birthright. And Isabel is saying that we, as the audience, have been complicit in this. We have been watching this family for years, cheering them on, buying their books, visiting the farm, but we didn't see the quiet manipulation happening behind the scenes. We saw Matt as the visionary, the charming scamp who was always building something new. But we didn't see the conversations where he belittled his children's capabilities. We didn't see the moments where he made them feel small. Isabel also sheds light on a very specific event that seemed to be the final straw. It involves the infamous negotiation period. We know that Zach and Tori made an offer on the farm. We know that Jeremy and Audrey were interested, but Isabel has revealed that Jacob was interested too, but he was smart enough to know that he wasn't going to get a fair shake. He saw that Matt was moving the goalposts. Every time they got close to a deal, the price went up or the terms got stricter. It was a rigged game. Matt was never going to sell to them because he didn't want to sell to them. He wanted to create a bidding war so he could ride off into the sunset with a huge check, feeling like he had won. And this is where the irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Matt is a millionaire. He wasn't going to be broke if he gave his sons a deal, but his greed outweighed his love. He let the numbers on a spreadsheet define the value of his family. And Isabel says this is the most painful part to watch. She said she would never have married into a family like that if she had known. She said she always thought the Roloffs were the epitome of a loving, supportive family, but the reality that was hidden from the cameras was cold, transactional, and deeply, deeply unfair. We are just scratching the surface here. In the next segment, we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of how this decision is affecting the family dynamic right now. We are going to talk about the isolation that Jacob feels, the pressure on Amy as she watches her ex-husband dismantle her own legacy, and the future of the farm. Isabel has a lot more to say, and frankly, it gets a whole lot darker. She is talking about the psychological impact of Matt's decision, the depression it caused, and the feeling of being disowned. So, stay with me. And now, my friends, we arrive at the most difficult part of this story. We have talked about the decision, we have talked about the betrayal, and we have talked about the destruction of trust. But now we have to talk about the aftermath. We have to talk about what happens to a family when the dust settles, when the cameras stop rolling, and when the reality of the situation sinks in. Because the truth is, Matt Roloff's decision didn't just damage his relationship with his children. It didn't just destroy the dream of a unified family legacy. It created a ripple effect that has touched every single member of the Roloff clan, and it has left scars that may never fully heal. And Isabel, in her courage, has been very honest about this. She has spoken about the sleepless nights, the endless conversations with Jacob where they try to make sense of it all, and the profound sense of loss that has permeated their lives. This wasn't just a business deal gone wrong. This was a father looking at his son and essentially saying, Your worth to me is less than the worth of this dirt. And that is a wound that no amount of time can fully erase. What makes the situation even more tragic is the isolation that Jacob now feels. Think about it. Jacob grew up in a family where he was constantly surrounded by people. He had brothers to play with, a sister to tease, and parents who, despite their own marital issues, were always present. But after Matt's decision, the family dynamic shifted so dramatically that Jacob found himself on the outside looking in. The farm, which was once a place of refuge and childhood wonder, became a symbol of rejection. He couldn't go there without feeling the weight of his father's betrayal. He couldn't drive past the pumpkin patch without remembering that he wasn't welcome to be a part of it anymore. And Isabel has said that watching her husband go through this has been one of the most painful experiences of her life. She has watched a man who is full of creativity and passion and love become withdrawn, skeptical, and deeply saddened by the actions of his own father. This is the damage that Matt's decision has caused, and it is the damage that we, as viewers, cannot see on the edited episodes of the show. But here's the thing that Isabel wants us to understand. This isn't just about Jacob. This is about the entire family structure. We have seen Amy, who has tried so hard to remain neutral, who has tried to keep the peace, but who is also deeply hurt. She built that farm alongside Matt. She worked her fingers to the bone to raise those children and keep the business afloat. And to see it being sold off and to see the legacy that she helped create being treated like a commodity, it is devastating for her. She has been forced to watch as her ex-husband dismantles the very thing they built together, not because of financial necessity, but because of pride. And Isabel has said that Amy has been a rock for Jacob during this time. She has been the one who reminds him that he is more than the rejection of his father. She has been the one who tells him that his worth is not defined by the land, but by the man he has become. And that is a beautiful thing, isn't it? In the midst of all this chaos, we see the resilience of a mother's love. We see Amy stepping up to be the parent that Jacob needs even when Matt has failed him. And what about the other siblings? We have to talk about the impact on the family as a whole. The decision didn't just divide father and son, it divided brothers. It divided the family into factions. We have seen the fractures between Zach and Matt. And now, with Isabel speaking out, we are seeing a shift in the alliances. The family that was once so close, that used to get together for holidays and pumpkin seasons, is now splintered. Isabel has mentioned that the holidays are different now. The joy is gone, replaced by a forced politeness that feels hollow. Everyone is walking on eggshells, afraid to say the wrong thing, afraid to bring up the farm, afraid to talk about the future. It is a family in mourning the loss of what they used to be. And this is the ultimate price of Matt's decision. He wanted to protect his legacy, but in doing so, he destroyed the very thing that gave his legacy meaning, his family. If you are enjoying this deep dive and you are finding this analysis valuable, please help me spread the truth. Hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss future updates on this story. We are committed to bringing you the real story, the behind the scenes truth that the major outlets won't show you. And if you have been affected by family drama like this, if you have experienced the pain of being rejected by a family member, drop a comment below. Let's create a community of support here. We want to hear your stories. We want to know that we are not alone in this. Because the truth is, this story resonates with so many people, not because of the farm, but because of the human experience. It is a story about family, about betrayal, about the choices we make and the consequences we face. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And now let's get back to the conclusion of this heartbreaking story. Now let's talk about the future. What does the future hold for Jacob and Isabel? What does the future hold for the farm? And what does the future hold for the Roloff family as a whole? Well, according to Isabel, the future is uncertain, but it is not without hope. She and Jacob have been focusing on their own little family. They have been building their own life, a life that is separate from the drama of the farm. They have been exploring new opportunities, new passions, and new ways to find happiness. They have been healing slowly but surely, and Isabel says that while the pain of Matt's decision will always be there, it doesn't define them. It is a part of their story, but it is not the whole story. They have each other, they have their son, and they have the love of Amy and the other family members who support them. They are determined to break the cycle of hurt and create a legacy of love for their own children. And what about the farm? The farm is still there, of course. It is still standing, still operational, still the subject of endless speculation. But Isabel has hinted that the sale of the farm, or whatever happens to it, is no longer her concern. She has washed her hands of it. She has said that the farm is just a place, a physical piece of land, and that the real legacy is in the hearts of the people. And you know what? She is right. The Roloff legacy was never really about the dirt. It was about the story. It was about a family that overcame incredible odds to build something beautiful. It was about a father who fought against his disabilities to provide for his family. It was about a mother who held her family together with strength and grace. And now the story has taken a dark turn, but it is still a story about survival. It is a story about how we move forward when the people we love let us down. It is a story about the resilience of the human spirit. Isabel has also talked about the importance of forgiveness. She says that while she is angry at Matt for what he has done, she is not holding on to that anger. She is not letting it consume her. She understands that forgiveness is not about saying that what Matt did was okay. It is about releasing the burden of hatred so that she can move forward. It is about choosing peace over bitterness. And that, my friends, is the ultimate lesson from all of this. We can choose to be angry. We can choose to be bitter. We can choose to let the actions of others define us. Or we can choose to rise above it. We can choose to be better. We can choose to break the cycle. And that is exactly what Jacob and Isabel are doing. They are breaking the cycle. They are saying, we are not going to let this define our family. We are going to build something new, something better, something full of love. This is the moment where we have to ask ourselves the hard questions. How much do we value our family? Are we willing to sacrifice our relationships for money? Are we willing to throw away the love of our children for a piece of land? Matt Roloff made his choice, and he has to live with the consequences. He has to live with the knowledge that his decision has alienated his children, that it has damaged his relationship with his grandchildren, and that it has tarnished the legacy that he worked so hard to build. And Isabel says that she hopes one day he realizes what he has lost. She hopes that he sees the pain he has caused and that he regrets it, but she is not holding her breath. She is realistic about who he is and what he is capable of. And that is the tragedy of it all. Sometimes the people we love are not capable of giving us what we need. Sometimes they are too caught up in their own ego, their own desires, their own dreams. And all we can do is step back and protect ourselves. But let's not end on a note of despair. Let's end on a note of hope. Because despite everything, Isabel and Jacob are okay. They are more than okay. They are thriving. They have built a beautiful life together, a life that is filled with love, laughter, and the joy of watching their son grow up. They have chosen to focus on what matters. And what matters is not the farm. What matters is family. What matters is love. What matters is the future.